Welcome to the Do You Feel Heard podcast, a production of Helping the Herd. Helping the Herd is committed to empowering individuals to liberate themselves from the patterns that keep them from creating their ideal life. If you like this podcast, visit helpingtheherd.com to find resources and personalized coaching to empower you to be your best self. Okay, we're here. We're doing it. Mae Ling, great to see you. How are you this morning?
Thank you so much. I'm doing great.
Awesome.
I'm like riding a high right now, but I'll get more into that later.
Yeah, I want to hear all about it. So first, Derrick is my co-host, a dear friend, and a very wonderful human. And so we know each other, Mae Ling, but you don't know Derrick, so introduction here.
It's nice to meet you, Mae Ling. Thanks for being on the podcast. Excited to learn more about you.
Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you as well, Derrick.
Thank you.
So,
can I ask how you guys know each other?
Yeah, I can definitely jump into that. So we met in Mexico a few months ago for a flow, what would you call it, like a training retreat kind of a thing. Basically once a year, a friend of mine, a friend of ours, does this week-long training where people who are interested or practitioners, performers of flow arts come and train with him, and he's very knowledgeable and experienced in just about every prop. And those that he's not, he brings in other trainers and teachers to help people with those props. And so it's always an incredible time, and meeting, you get the opportunity to meet some really awesome people like Mae Ling here, who I'm very excited to have met, and I'm glad we got her on the podcast. It's really a treat.
That's so cool. And thanks for sharing that. You buried the lead. I love flow arts. I've been flowing for years, and it's been really big for me it's been a huge outlet and form of expression that's helped me to find my true self, to feel more comfortable in my body, to find ways of expressing myself that I just didn't have forms for before. So I love to hear that's where you met. That's really cool.
Yeah. So Mae Ling, do you want to, can we just go by Mae for short, or
Sure.
like the whole thing? Mae Ling every time. Do you want to share a little bit about, since we're talking about flow, we can stay there for just a second and then kind of get into the intro piece to learn more about you. But let's talk about the flow pieces. What brought you to that flow retreat that, prompted our introduction?
So let's start with how I got into flow, which is I watched Kill Bill, and there's a character, Gogo Yubari, who has this like metal ball with like serrated knives or whatever at the end with a chain on it. And ever since I watched that movie as a kid, I was like, I'm gonna grow up to one day be like her. And so that is like my prop of choice. Not
Awesome.
so
A
painful.
meteor dart, right?
It's
Would you call that a
just
meteor
rope
dart now? Rope
dart.
dart, okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And
One of the coolest flow
so-
props for people who don't know. Look it up. Like, it's very, very cool. And if you haven't seen Kill Bill, what are you doing with your life?
And that movie itself shaped a lot of who I am today as well. Just these strong, independent, kick-ass, badass women doing whatever they want type of thing. And I take that energy into what I do for fun and work. Work is fun.
Great segue. Do you want to start talking about that? Would love to, go into those connections, because I think it's definitely very relevant.
Yeah, I am a professional dominatrix. Been professional for 6-7 years now. Lifestyle for 10 years before that. And it has been such a huge passion of mine that I feel like it has truly helped a lot of getting over my own sexual traumas and stuff. And so I want to be able to hold that space and help others through that journey as well. It's been a really beautiful purpose, a really beautiful way to guide people. And it's super niche and intimate and weird. And it's celebrating that authentic version of yourself and making people feel a lot more whole.
Beautiful. I think that's probably not, those aren't the sentences that people expected to hear
I know.
following I'm a professional dominatrix, which I think is perfect. And Derek and I were talking about this briefly before we started about one of my, like, I don't know, intentions for this podcast and where I'd like the conversation to go. So I'm glad that it's kind of going there naturally, which is like when people imagine a dominatrix, they're pretty much only pulling from media where it is portrayed in a certain way, and then you combine that with whatever their either sexual traumas or like misconceptions or even like religious, like, you know, influences of what's good, what's bad, what's shameful, what's not. And everything that you just said about why you're in this role and what you do for people sounds really beautiful and like heart led, which is again probably not what people were expecting to hear. So I'd like to hear more about that. You're saying that you guide people and celebrate their authenticity. What does that look like? How do you accomplish that in that role?
The cat feeder's gonna go off right now, so you're gonna hear some kibbles.
No problem.
Nibbles and kibbles, that's all right.
That's
That
what
cat
we're
is
doing,
fed.
kink.
Talk about ASMR.
Yeah.
So, how do I guide people with authenticity? I truly feel like everybody desires something at some base level. And it's really up to them to know themselves in order to express it. And not say what I want to hear them say, but say what they actually want to say. And this goes in all walks of life, not just what I do. And so I am there coaxing out of them what is actually true and what is like, I know you could go deeper. I know you could like push yourself further. Like, I know you're saying one thing, and that's because you're probably putting up a block to save yourself from previous things that you have learned to save yourself and protect yourself from, which is fine. But in this safe space, in this space of exploration, I want to work through undoing all of that, undoing all of those habits that you've created for yourself, because that doesn't serve you anymore. Let's push yourself out of that comfort zone. Let's push yourself out of there so that you can truly feel and grow into this whole new world and world of unknown, which is scary. It is, but it's also the place of growth and excitement, new beginnings. Yeah, so I ask a lot of questions, and one of the things I do is asking the same question over and over.
Okay.
You ask
One
them once,
question?
they'll say an answer just to give an answer. You ask them the same question again, they have to dig deeper. Oh, what did I actually want? They'll give me something a bit more. And then you ask them a third time, and they'll be like, oh, okay. And that gives you a little bit more. And if you want to ask 2 more times, well, you get a whole lot more to work with. Yeah.
I see. Just to clarify, are you saying you have one question that you ask all the time, or is it different for each person, but you'll just repeat whatever question you're using? Or what's the one question?
For
Because-
example, you can ask any question. For example,
Gotcha.
I'll ask, what are you doing here? Why are you here? And then they'll be like, oh, I'm here to serve you. Why are you actually here in front of me? Oh, because I want to let go and forget about who I am for a moment and just follow your commands and shut down my brain and blah, blah, blah. Why are you here? And then it digs deeper for them.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. On a previous podcast, Ian and I were talking about another of my favorite directors beside Tarantino, who's right up there, Wes Anderson, and a movie that he has that talked about how why is a question that can often freeze people up. And it was funny because Ian mentioned how much it's one of his favorite questions, and I agree. So I love seeing this thread continue, and it makes sense that the questions that freeze someone up would also be the ones that, if you were able to have a safe space, repeat, press on, might unfreeze someone. Very cool.
just always leading with curiosity. And I feel like people aren't used to that, especially as a submissive. People are always being told what to do, being told what to think like or act like or how to behave. But I want to know the deep down, like, kernel core inside of them of why they are doing this, though. Because only then can you lead from a space of, like, resonating with what their why is.
Yeah. And so while you've been leading these inquiries, are there any common themes you found in what people desire and why people are there? I'm sure everyone will be different, but any, common threads that you see often?
Everybody is different, but the most common thing is that everybody wants to feel heard and seen. Everybody just wants to be acknowledged with somebody, and we go through life so much where people feel invisible even in a crowd, especially in a crowd, really.
Sure.
And so to be in front of one individual and their sole focus is placed entirely upon you, there's no phones, no distractions, nothing else, and it's just the two of you, is a huge shock for a lot of people. Yeah.
I had a question pop up. Is there, like, do you have a goal or several goals when you hold space for somebody? Is there something you're trying to accomplish, or is there like a thing in the back of your head, like, okay, I know I want to accomplish this thing throughout this session, or maybe several things that you want to accomplish in that session with your clients?
Starting out, I used to be like, oh, did I check all the boxes? Did I do the thing? Now I don't. There is no goal. There is never a goal, because as long as I can create that connection, the goal is done. You can
And
do anything once you've connected with this individual. It doesn't have to be what they wanted per se in the kink realm. It doesn't have to be their specific kink. It doesn't have to be my specific kink. It doesn't have to be like, oh, you're not leaving here unless you get 50 lashings or whatever. Nothing specific like that. The goal is to feel like we have both pushed ourselves to the point of satisfaction. I guess, okay, so I guess the goal is my satisfaction, my ultimate satisfaction. Do I feel like I am done with you?
and how do you measure that? How do you know when you are done with them? How do you know when you're satisfied?
There's a moment when an individual feels settled into themselves. You can kind of see it as an arc during the session. They come in, they're nervous, they're tense. I don't know what to do. I do things, I say things to them. They kind of relax into it. You go further, and there's a moment of like, nothing else matters except for I am just purely existing and relishing in the fact that I can expand and be at peace with who I am in front of this individual. And when I feel that silence, when I feel that moment of just calmness, that is when I am satisfied.
Beautiful.
What a service to provide. I'm curious with Ian and I, with the work we do here with Helping the Herd, we talk about containers a lot, and we talk about how to structure containers, and this idea that containers, the appropriate boundaries, help people, often couples, to feel heard, to communicate, to be seen, to say the things that they need to say. How do you go about creating that safe space that lets your clients reach that point of calm and authenticity?
Yeah. Creating a container is the first thing. It's building that trust and connection through communication before we get into anything else. So I set time for communication just so that we're clear. I know that they filled out an application and all that, but on the day of, when you see each other and you're about to get into it, things might change. New things might pop into your head of, oh, I wanted to switch things out, or I'm not feeling the best right now physically because something else has just happened, and we can adjust to that. And then I also have, it's like peeling the layers. So we start off kind of face to face, we're on equal eye level, and then we kind of work our way down. From there, I want their head lower than mine. They're going to remove all their clothes. So they're stripping away everything and being completely vulnerable at that state. And then they're also going to have their phone set on silent and everything placed in the corner away. And so as they step onto this rug, as they step onto this furniture, as they step onto whatever, I tell them, you are only allowed to step onto this, and we will commence and begin our session, our time together, when you feel like you are ready to take forth into this new light, into this new beginning, into this new change and transformation. But until you do not feel ready, I want you to stay on the outskirts and give yourself time to process of what could be and be open to whatever that potential is. So
Do
it's a
they know?
physical.
Do they know that's what they're going in there for? Like when you have a client, are there clients that come in not really understanding why they're going to a dominatrix? Maybe they're coming in with misconceptions, not knowing that they're about to be empowered as hell when they come out of there, right? Maybe they're going in because they think they need to be punished for something, but then they come out realizing that that's not what needed to happen. Does that ever happen?
People come to see dominatrixes all the time, and reasons vary. I am so happy that I get to filter and go through all the applications and only say yes to the people that I want to work with. And so I kind of weed out the people who are there for, like, a quick pop or whatever, just getting their, whatever, fill in. And so I get to go in a much more deeper level with my clients and with my slaves or subs. And it becomes a much more fulfilling aspect for the both of us. They want to be better individuals, they want to be better slaves. I want them to be better humans, because I feel like if I can help someone else be a better human, it'll just have the ripple effect of making the world a better place. So, yeah. I used to have those people. I don't anymore.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm curious if you can help level set on language. Can you tell us more about dom, sub, and how you use the word slave and what that means in this work?
Yeah. Everyone has their own definition. So, a dominant individual is different from a service top. A service top is just there who is going to do the things that you want them to do as a service to you. They will top you. A dominant is somebody who is going to do whatever they want to do so that they are pleased. The other individual is pleasing them. Their pleasure is the primary focus of it all. And then a submissive is someone who wants to please her and or him, or they. Someone who's wanting to please that individual and is willing to do that. A slave is the lower version of that, who is kind of saying, I have nothing else other to do. My sole purpose is to live this life to please you and contribute to you and be all encompassing. Whereas submissive could be like more in and out. Like, I still have my life out there and whatnot, but when I come see you, I will be submissive to you. Whereas slave is more like, I am there for your whole life. This is a full dynamic, ongoing, outside of our just one-on-one session time. It, their life is there to please you. A pet is like a pet. You just like have a cherished animal that you're just like, oh, here's the cuddles, here's the things. You train them, they're fun. Um, they hold a different spot in your stable per se. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, that's helpful. I feel like I should be taking notes. A whole new vocabulary. I'm curious with the submissive and slave role. What do you see that, I'm sure it's varied, but what do you see that people mainly get from that? Why are people interested in taking on that role, and what's the benefit that they get from that role?
I feel like a lot of people go through life kind of a little lost, feeling a little like not in touch with their inner compass. And so finding someone to serve could be a great light for them. It could be a great meaning of directionality. And I feel like I wrote a little blog post about how femdom is not just a playtime thing, but it's more of like a religion. Some people refer to dominants as goddesses or gods. And so I feel like back in the day, you could build crazy, insane pyramids because you're sacrificing everything and offering things up to the gods. And the same thing here. When you find somebody who you truly believe has this incredible potential and beauty and power, you want to offer yourself to them. You want to give them whatever so that they succeed. And so now their purpose in life is to propel you in your purpose. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. That's enlightening. I don't know if I would have got there on my own. And it reminds me of the myth of Sisyphus. I recently read a different take on that. You know, the myth of I guess he was a god, demigod, I'm not sure Sisyphus's role exactly, maybe a sub, maybe a dom, I'm not sure, who was cursed with rolling the boulder up the hill only to perpetually have it roll back down and to start again. And, you know, this is seen as a punishment, but I read a take on it that was a little different, that it was a blessing to have a purpose. Even if that purpose on the outside didn't seem to be accomplishing anything, that to have that purpose in that direction was a real gift in and of itself. So I see parallels there with what you're saying about just people looking for direction, meaning, who's not looking for meaning, who doesn't have doubts about that, and that you give them a light to follow. And it sounds like, from earlier, you're saying that ends up helping them in other areas of their life. What's some of those ways in which you see that ripple outward from the dungeon?
Exactly. In order to be a better slave or sub to me, they have to take care of themselves better, which means health-wise, nutrition. Are you drinking enough water? If you want to serve me and do all these physical acts, you need to be in a good shape.
Wow.
I need stamina. Maybe not in the same way like, stamina other people have, but like stamina as in like you can carry and lift things and move things around and, quote unquote, move mountains for me.
Wow. Purpose leads to progress in these other areas. That's so interesting.
Yeah, which also leads to habits of like, are you sleeping on time? Sleep is so important to healing your body. If you're staying up at night and you have this crappy routine and you show up groggy and sleepy to me, then you're not going to be really much help.
How do you create accountability? So I hear you saying that, okay, the client comes in and like they're serving you, they want you to be happy, and or they want to satisfy your whatever your desires, your purpose, and your desire and purpose is for them to thrive. And so it's like this beautiful circle of them pouring into you, you making sure they're taking care of themselves. But how do you maintain accountability over a period of time when you have like I imagine a limited amount of time in a session with a client, but then they go back to their life and make choices, and you're not there to guide them necessarily, in person at least. So, what are your methods for helping your clients maintain accountability with themselves when you're not there?
First and foremost, honesty is the most important thing. And so if I ask them and they're not going to be honest with me, there is nothing worse than having your dom be disappointed in you. So that's a really big motivational factor.
Okay.
And then there are some things that I do daily check-ins with. So some people I have do a daily journal. Some of them I make them do a daily gratitude journal, which they send to me at 8 p.m. at night before they go to bed, or 8 p.m. because then they can still have their like nighttime routine and whatnot. But that's a part of their nighttime routine is writing that gratitude journal, sending me a photo of it. And so that's one way. Another way is some people do text message check-ins and whatnot to hold people accountable to. There's a wide variety of different apps to do it. I personally like handwritten things. I feel like when you handwrite it and then send me a photo, it's like you took the time and you wrote it out, which triggers this other thing in your brain of like, okay, I am actually doing this, and it's solidifying within myself. And then they're sending it to me, so I get to see their progress.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I'm sure Ian's thinking similar things without making assumptions here about some of the parallels between coaching with clients we work with communication and intimacy, and what you're doing here. Accountability, check-ins. I think there's a similar pattern with people not wanting to disappoint a coach. And I think it mainly comes back to disappointing themselves. I hope they're not deifying us too much, but if they are, that's on them. That's okay. But I do think there is something about that when you're paying for a service, when you're agreeing to a service. We don't want to let ourselves down. We don't want to let the person who we're making commitments to down. And I do think I've thought this a lot about roles. I take a lot of different roles: meditation teaching, healthcare roles, coaching now. I find it really interesting that there's a benefit just to taking a role and what follows from that. And you're really illustrating a lot more of that with clarity of how that can go in so many different directions. And this accountability aspect, I really love. I have an accountability practice with a lot of people now with exercise and meditation, where we'll just send each other emojis, or we'll just do a text check-in or something every time we're at the gym or we're on the mat meditating. And what a gift it is, and how effective it is. I can't believe how effective it is. Just to have someone else doing the thing and reminding you that it's valuable, and you wanting to do it to help them, because there's hard days when you don't want to do it, and they know there's hard days when you don't want to do it. And that connection is so powerful. It's so beyond what you could imagine. An emoji, what power do we think an emoji has, or a text check-in? But it really can be if we put the meaning and the accountability behind that.
The meaning is whatever you set behind it. It could be anything, literally anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you think of any, without identifying anyone, of course, can you think of any, maybe the most remarkable positive transformation you've seen with a client because of the work with you and what you've seen in their life or in their character?
Yeah. There's quite a few, but one really rings true with me is they have changed so much, in a sense that the way that they communicate is now different, which I'm like, whoa, this is great, because the way you communicate with others, it ripples out and it affects what you're receiving in life. And so when they change that sense of communication with themselves, first and foremost, and then with others, it was just like, oh yes, I am so happy that this is happening for them. Yeah.
Thank you. We love to hear it on our communication centered
Yeah.
podcast. And, Ian and I say this all the time. I remember literally yesterday we were talking to each other, communication is everything. It's the water you swim in most of the time when you're relating to others and with, like you said, first and foremost yourself. I think that was one of the big clicks for me that made me, really dive into this work of improving my communication, trying to help others improve, was realizing that we are nearly always communicating with ourselves. There's this monologue in our head. There's these ways, verbal or otherwise, that we're communicating with ourselves. And if you start being intentional with that and improving that, the ripple, again, we keep talking about that ripple, is incredible. It's just beyond what you could ever imagine. So happy to hear that you're helping people in that way and seeing that progress. I've got a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Derek.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll follow up on the last one in a way, but I'm very curious about how shame is a part of the work you do and how you serve clients serve might be an interesting word for that, how you help clients moving through shame. And
Service industry, she's serving them, I think.
totally, but it's funny
Serving
serve as a
humanity,
part
at
of it.
least.
From what I read on the website, and it's another thing I want to get into eventually, possibly, is the meaning of the word serve, because you talk about your client serving you and that being, their main purpose. And we use that word often in the work for the will of consent, conceptual model we use often. So it's interesting. But how do you help people work with and work through shame with your work?
I feel like shame, when people hear their word, they're like, and I'm like, shame, give it to me. Oh, it's so deeply rooted within us. And so to feel like you are getting to that and then like prying it out, it's kind of like popping a good zit and getting like the hard spot underneath, There is no way of getting rid of shame. Shame is like in you. We can work on how loud it is within you. We can work on your relationship with it. But the first part is to be like a friend with it and be like, okay, I see it. And it's not like, oh, I got to get rid of it type of feeling. Because that, when you try to get rid of parts of you, it's just like, it's a part of you. It's you. And so then it's changing your mindset and your mind frame to being like, how does this shame serve me? What is it doing for me? What's the point of it? Why am I giving it such a loud voice? Why is it so important to me? Is it? And then making you think about like, is it? Because if it's not, then now you can change your relationship with it to being like, oh, I can see that this was because of this, and that's not true anymore because that's not who I am, and that was that one instant. And now I get to dance with shame and, have this beautiful experience with it and be like, okay, great, you got me to this point. And being appreciative of it, being like, you were so loud for a reason, and I hear you now. And now we can just both kind of calm down with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely. I associate shame, especially if we're referring to like shame projected onto ourselves for something we had done, as like judgment. We're judging our previous self for not doing this or doing that, and oftentimes that's connected to us being out of alignment with ourselves and choosing to stay out of alignment, right? Doing something that we weren't actually available for instance, but we did it anyway. And then we hold all this shame for violating our own integrity during that time. Does that correlate with your work? And if so, how do you help people find that peace, which is on the other side of that shame?
Yeah. I feel like as much as a Dom says or does things to you, nobody's gonna be harsher on you than yourself. You are your own worst critic. I could give you punishment, but you are gonna punish yourself the worst because you're gonna let it stew, you're gonna let it fester up, you're gonna like not move past it. Instead, you're gonna make it some bigger thing. Even though I said it's not that big of a thing, you learned your lesson. I already hit you a bunch of times for it. It's done. Now I just want you to be aware of it and then change and make that change. And instead, they might be like, oh, and I'm just like, hey, I need you to do what I am telling you to do. You're doing all these extra things that I didn't even tell you to do. And that's not serving me. That instead is louder than my command. And do you want you to dom yourself? Because look how far that's gotten you in their life. Or are you going to let me dom you? So.
Yeah, I like that. I like how that's connected to like, you want to serve me. You want to, the frame is very different. This is where our work is very different. Yeah. Our clients are not doing things because they want to serve us. It is very much the other way around, and that we are serving them ultimately to like empower them. We're doing the same thing very in different ways. The end result is the same. They're going to be empowered to make the changes within themselves that they need to create the life that they want for themselves, right? We're getting to the same place but very different ways. But that's very interesting, that frame though of like, well, I didn't say that you should be shaming yourself about that. You're doing that. Who are you serving here? Are you serving yourself or are you serving me? I don't know. That's very interesting.
It's so interesting. I'm hearing a lot from that about you're doming yourself.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a picture of you're providing a role in which you're allowing people to externalize this internal part of themselves so that they can see it more clearly. And by taking on that judging role, we all have a judger, that role that's trying to, judge, punish, whatever that might be. It's funny you're saying, no matter what I'm doing to them, it's less than they're doing to themselves normally, internally. And by helping them see that and feel that, it can be an incredible space for growth. Wow. Yeah. I think about a meditative thing as well, kind of a meditative and religious thing about just getting out of the self, getting out of self-centered thinking, and how the self and being self-focused is kind of the root of depression. It's the root of a lot of negative emotion. And in more religious contexts, people talk about, there's a quote, I forget exactly how it goes, but it's do everything for God. Whatever your God is, do it for God. Give it to God. It's not my will, but thy will be done. That's the quote, I think. Not my will, but thy will be done. And I've heard whole lectures, talks given on this quote. And, at first I'm resistant, as almost always, to something new. And but what about me? And, how do I know that their will is right? But what I'm seeing here is almost this extrication of what you're giving it to, but the value being from getting out of your own head and out of your self-focus, and by doing for others, by serving. Yet another view of the word serve, by serving others, there's almost an inherent clarity that can come. You get out of the muck of your own judgments and blind spots with yourself.
Yeah, I think it really depends on your definition of God, right? I mean, when you say serving God, like what I'm here, like Mae, you're saying, like, if I can empower my individual client in how their relationship with themselves, that will impact their relationship with others, which will ripple out and eventually impact everyone around them. And in that way, once again, we're very much aligned in what we're doing and how our work is ultimately serving humanity. And if you share a view that God is everything, is the universe, is the collective consciousness, we are all one being, then working on yourself is working on everyone else, right? And so you are serving everyone else by working on yourself and benefiting yourself, bettering yourself.
Absolutely. It starts with you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Did not think that's where you're going to go when I asked about moving through shame. That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. It's an interesting path, but it makes sense. I'm seeing the bricks.
So how does one find themselves taking this route to serving people, right? So some people will get into social work, some people will get into therapy, but you've chosen to get into the dominatrix world, which is a very different route that we're learning gets you to the same place ultimately, or a similar, maybe not the same place, but a similar place of serving people and helping people in the ways that we all share in this session here, this container that we're in. But how do you find yourself on that path instead of some of the other paths? What drew you to this path instead of, say, social work or counseling or whatever?
Good question. So before this, I used to work for the government doing emergency management. And before that, I thought I was going to be a doctor. I was on route to be a doctor and med school and all that. And I was just like, oh. And after having traveled the world for 4 years and doing kink as I traveled and gone to Burning Man, after my first burn, a week after my first burn, I went back and I quit my job. I was just like, I'm gonna go figure something out. And I was like, okay, I want my life to be like the burn all the time, not just for that 1 week. And so as I traveled for 4 years, I got more into kink and I got more into femdom stuff. And I learned from around the world, and that's how I traveled and met incredible people. And when I came back, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to start this business. And I did. And that's been 6 years.
Love it.
Yeah. Can you say more about what you maybe took from Burning Man and what part of that you wanted to make your life like after that experience?
It was so full of wonder. If you can dream it, it can be possible type of sense. In the way that you're in the middle of nowhere in harsh conditions, and yet everything you could possibly want just miraculously pops up. And I was like, wait a minute. How come life, which is full of, not so harsh conditions and you have easy access to other things, can't be like that as well? And so I wanted to create a world for myself where any ridiculous thing that I could dream up of would just come true. And people would be on board with it and celebrate it and be excited about it. And yeah, that's how the art, the beauty, all the human interactions, all the riffraffs. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. You wanted to live what you could dream, maybe get out of. I hear people talk about default reality versus whatever is real that you experience at some place like Burning Man or a music festival. How does that relate to your work? What is it that you're extracting and getting? Is it freedom? Is it authenticity? What separates default reality from Burning Man reality?
My default is Burning Man reality right now.
Yeah, good. Other people's
In
default
the
reality.
sense-
Sorry, the societal one.
Yeah, in the sense that if I want something to come true, there are submissives and slaves out there who are willing to make that happen for me. And the reality is that everybody has this power. They just don't realize it yet, or they don't utilize it yet because they don't have, or they haven't felt like they could create that ask. No ask is too large.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
You just
That's
say it
empowering.
and it will come true. That's the beauty of communication. You would express a desire and bam, you'll get that and more.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's lovely. One of the things that came to mind around anything you can dream up, you can do, and the difference between that reality and the more, I guess, pervasive reality, which is like a limitation mindset, is really the only difference. If you believe that it's not possible and you shrink yourself and you don't make the request because of your fears or whatever is limiting you, then you're not going to create that reality. But if you move beyond those things and feel safe and secure in yourself to make the request and trust the other person to be like embodying consent for themselves and not agreeing to things they're not available for, and being able to receive the no if it is a no, right? All of those safety mechanisms in place, then you can step into this fully and start calling in exactly what you want, rather than allowing things to be and just settling and, okay, I guess this is just how things are going to be. I'll just suffer through this world.
Yeah.
And really, again, it all circles back to you. It circles back to the way you communicate with yourself and your belief systems, and ultimately the things that limit you are inside of you most of the time. Most of the limiting factors are within yourself, not in the external world.
Yeah. And that's why I have a hard time, or I don't like playing with people who say they have no hard limits.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, you clearly don't know yourself.
Yeah.
And that means I can't trust what you're saying or
Right.
how you're going to act or be in front of me. And so you gotta do some work first.
Hmm. Yeah, because the
Because if,
extreme. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say the extreme is. I'm sure you could find their limits.
oh yeah,
You would find things in that space that they would discover are limits, but it sounds like knowing those limits, or at least having like a base level understanding of some of your limits, is like for you like the bare minimum of like, I need you to know about yourself to some degree before we can start going deep. You know. So yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. When people say they have no limits, my go-to thing to ask them is like, so you'd be totally fine if I just chopped off your balls and then just like took your wallet and left. And they're like, I'm like, oh, well, maybe you should have some boundaries so that we can both show up and trust each other
Hmm.
in a sense that, like, I know how far I can push you.
Hmm. And you know how far I can push you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. It's funny. This was the question I was about to ask. Is right around this. It's, you've talked about change is uncomfortable before. We've talked about how pushing through boundaries, around boundaries, pushing boundaries outward is uncomfortable. Maybe not always, but most of the time. So how do you respect someone's consent while also pushing their boundaries or pushing them to grow and expand?
I love that question. It is such a fine line. And so I don't play with a safe word. I don't play where someone is going to be like thinking about the thing the whole time to end it. Because essentially they still have the ultimate power then. I need them to trust me in a sense that like I can read their body language and I can read them and how they're responding to me so that I can pivot accordingly. And I've never had a session where someone was like, okay, we're done here. And so I push until the point where I perceive it in them. And can you hear the cats fighting?
Hmm.
Oh yeah. Cats always pushing boundaries. Always.
Yep.
Exactly. I just do that. So yeah, you kind of push it, and then I will always call it before. Okay, they're done now. I will always call it right before I feel like they're gonna be on this like breaking point or something, or like I can't do anymore or whatever. It's gonna be that moment where I can see it, and then I'm like, great, I am satisfied with that bit. Because in that moment, they really push themselves. And then now I'm going to celebrate it. Because when you push yourself so far, it's like, okay, great. But then when you pair it with a reward or a pleasure or something else, then it's like, oh, I pushed for this type of feeling. Like it makes it okay then, you know? Not in a sense that like everything I do is not okay, but it makes it worth it to them. That they get to see the smile on my face, that they get to finally feel my warm body and touching them and whatnot. They can finally feel something that they really wanted. And so it's pairing that negative thing that they never wanted or whatever with something that they truly want. And so when you combine the two together, you'll be surprised at what people can do.
Absolutely.
And I feel like, okay, if this is what I'm doing with my clients, I'm curious how you guys pair that with your clients. Of like, do you have like, okay, you're pushing yourself, but what's their like reward system? The reward is, yes, ultimately you get to have the better outlook of life and creating those changes in your life. But what's that like little piece of chocolate for them?
Yeah, I'll jump in first, and then Derek, you can share after. For me, the first thing coming to mind is oftentimes clients are coming into these sessions because there's some aspect of their dynamic, their relationship, their communication with that person. There's something that they're recognizing is out of alignment. They don't like that something is happening a certain way, and they want to create change. And so what I've witnessed with my clients is those moments when, okay, normally they say this, I get upset, I react this way, and then they get upset, and we trigger each other, and it turns into this big, blow up, when it potentially, according to my coach, it doesn't have to look that way. And so they have the awareness, which is the important first step in creating change. So they have that awareness, and then the next time that situation arises, they choose to do something different. And then they wait. And then they're like, okay, I'm trying the thing, I'm putting myself out there, this is scary. How are they going to respond? And then it works. And it doesn't turn into a big thing. And then there's this like, oh shit, like I can really do this. I'm really able to create the change that I want to see. And that's so empowering for them, that's the gift, that's the treat, is like, oh, I've been able to do this whole time. And now I just need to stick with it. And then accountability, and there's a bunch of things that go in after that. But that moment, that realization that they can do things differently, and then they see the direct result in real time, that is what I witness in my clients most often, of when they really, or they're sold, they're bought in. They're like, okay, let's do this. We're in this now. Like, we're going to frickin' change all these things that we don't like about like the way we communicate or the fights or whatever. Like, it's all in our control now. That realization is the little treat, the little piece of chocolate, or the celebration, or whatever. That's been my experience.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, that's about where my answer is. We have the words of affirmation. There's like we said, no one wants to disappoint their coach or their dom. There's that already going on, and maybe sometimes literally give a gold star. If you're really going to, mail someone a gold star or something, maybe we will do something like that. Ian's joked about doing that before. But yeah, we're much more in the background, a little less, clearly involved. But I think our goal is to understand the situation, the people we're working with, enough that we can see what their reward and punishment landscape looks like in their life, and the ways in which they are punishing themselves, the ways in which they are rewarding themselves, and the rewards they could get to if they stop punishing themselves, like we talked about before, and we're more skillful with how they're reacting in their relationship with themselves. And so that we're just helping to guide, but more, really in a hands-off facilitate them finding and tuning into their own intrinsic rewards in their environment, in their inner landscape. And just like Ian said, then they find that, and they come to us with like that enthusiasm of, we found the reward, it worked so well, I'm seeing that I'm so much happier here. And I'm a behaviorist. Maybe it would be helpful if we like gave him $20 after that, but for now we don't seem to need to, and we let him find that intrinsically. Yeah, totally. Just what Ian said. Yeah.
Yeah, and we do, and to speak to the gold star, that is something I have done. I've not to this point actually sent a physical sticker, but I do give them out figuratively in sessions when someone does do something that like does deserve recognition. And unfortunately, not I mean not unfortunately, but one of the downsides of virtual containers is I'm not there. I can't really give them the thing, or there's a lot, not a lot, but there are things missing from that like in-person energetic exchange that I would much prefer to have. But the virtual does allow us to reach more people, which, the trade-off is whatever. But I would love to give that reward in person, but since I can't, I will drum up in my mind the most creative, silly sticker. I'll just create one. Like, it's a rainbow sticker, it's got a glitter background, and it says, "Hell yeah, you did it," or whatever, like just make something up. And there is a level of like, cool, I got a sticker and you didn't get a sticker. Like, I'm feeling good about myself. Like, it takes us back to like elementary school, kindergarten, first grade times where there was a sticker board in the back and you did like that because you're recognized in front of everybody. And so there is a level of that figurative sticker giving that I do. It's playful, but also there is like, it is motivating. There is a level of like, all right, but it's been 3 weeks and you haven't given me a fake sticker that isn't real. Like, what's going on? Am I not doing good? Like, that does happen in sessions. And so that is fun to see. And it does show that it does make an impact. They do care to receive that recognition, even in those playful forms.
I have another question for you then.
Okay.
So if you give one person a sticker and you're doing couples therapy, does it become like a all out like comparison of like, oh, I got more stickers than you?
That depends. Not every One thing I've found is like there are very different levels of like competitiveness in people. I have a competitive thing. I have that gene where if we're playing cards, I'm trying to win, and I'm going to do my very best to win. And like, I like the feeling of winning. I like that. It's so satisfying. But other people are like, I don't, it's whatever. I'm not really in competition with anybody else. And so it really depends on the audience that I'm working with, whoever that client is. But sometimes there is a level of like, well, what the heck? How come they got a sticker? I want a fake sticker, right? And so I kind of sit back and allow that to just resolve however it's going to. If that motivates that other person to do more things, great. I'll give them a sticker for it. And if they don't care about it and only that other partner cares about it, then that's great too. There have been competition. I have had clients that are both very competitive, and that gets fun. Because then it's like, okay, well, we have tools that we need to practice. So whoever does the most gets this thing at the end, or I'll encourage them to create their own like wager. What do you want if you win? How about a 10-minute back rub or something? And now they're like, ooh, I'm going to reflect more than you reflect this week. I'm going to ask if you're available. I'm going to use consent as much as I can this week with my partner because I really want my back rub from my partner. And like, that's where competition can be really useful in helping them to create these new healthy patterns of how they interact with all relationships, right? Like, I don't want to like just put us in this thing where it's only for couples. Like, maybe it's your relationship with your mother. Maybe it's how you communicate with her, or your siblings, or your coworkers, or your roommate, or your children. I mean, it spans to everyone, every relationship that you touch. But oftentimes it is the couples that find their way to us, which is great because they have the safety and like that support of having a committed, intimate, long-term relationship that does create a lot of safety to be able to do this kind of work that is scary because you're changing old patterns. You've been communicating in a certain way your entire life, and now all of a sudden you're going to learn a whole new way of speaking. I equate it to learning Portuguese. It's not easy. You're not just going to like get it in a week. It's going to take time, and that's scary to not get it right. You're going to not fail, but you're going to stumble. You're not going to get it right every time. And so having that safety of having that, relationship with someone is definitely helpful. It's helpful on that path, but you can do it alone. if you want it. If you really want change, you can create it.
Yeah, pros and cons. Yeah, I think, May, it's just like you were saying with how you push people's boundaries and help them push. A masterful coach is doing the same thing with the individual or couple that they're with. They are understanding, they are reading cues, and they're understanding when competition or reward can be used healthily, when it wouldn't, when someone's responding, when they're not. And, it's a flow. It's a flow, to tie it back to the beginning. It's a flow state, and it's about flowing ourselves in this role to help others flow together or in the rest of their lives. Yeah. And noticing that our flow is about at our time, I wanted to ask if there's any final misconceptions about what you do that you'd like to, clear up or say something on, or any other things that you want to share that's come up from this.
Misconceptions. A lot of media
Yeah.
portrays it in a very different light. Oftentimes it's written by someone who has a fantasy, who has never experienced it, and so they create a movie off of it. And very rarely do they ever consult with people who do it professionally to ensure that it is covered in the correct manner, in the correct light. There's a few out there who has made that change. And then, the whole idea of it's always late at night and they're wearing leather and latex, blah, blah, blah. I love morning work. I love like a good 9 or 10 a.m. session. Not wearing leather or latex. It's honestly, everybody is different and everyone shows up as their own version of who they are. And so if you can get that out of your mindset of like, this is what this individual is going to look like. All teachers look like this. All professors look like this. All doctors look like this. All dominatrixes look like this. All blah, blah. Stop putting people in boxes and just look at them for who they are. And be like, oh, I really resonate well with that. I think that we're going to be aligned. Let's just see how the vibe is. And just be open, because everybody is going to change so much. One day they can look like super punk and the next day really professional. So really don't judge a book by its cover. You don't know until you've had that experience with them. Yeah.
So my final question for you is what is the best way for people to get in touch with you if they feel aligned and compelled to work with you?
They can find everything on my website.
Got it.
MissMaeling.com. MissMaeling. And there they can apply to experience me in real life.
Great. We'll definitely link that in the in the bio for the YouTube and everything.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. It was very enlightening, very rich conversation, and I hope to do it again soon.
Would love to.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so
I learned
much.
so much.
Thank you.
This has been the Do You Feel Heard podcast. If you're interested in resources that will help you move through conflict, you can go to doyoufeelheard.com, where we have tools for individuals and couples.